And he said, you have to be kidding. You don't know Lovecraft. You don't know any of this stuff. And we said, no. And it was Herman Slater who was instrumental in saying, no, this book has got to find a publisher. And he tried to find a publisher on his own a number of times, and he just couldn't find one. Like, nobody was interested. And then L.K. Barnes, Larry Barnes, showed up one day and deliberately looking for the Necronomicon, because he was a Lovecraft fanatic, and he saw an occult story, so he figured, I'll go in and ask, He went in and asked, and Herman Slater had the manuscript there. I mean, the translated, thing, and he said, well, here, yeah, we do have it, So at that point, Barnes, who was a printer, was involved in the printing trade. His father was a printer. Decided that he would want to print the book himself, and so we did a limited edition in leather, So that came out. I think it was 3 editions altogether, or limited editions. And it sort of fell out of it after a while, but they went through a number of editions, and then the thing got sold to Avon as a paperback, and it became a phenomenon. L.K. Barnes was pretty good, though. The Barnes' sense for advertising and marketing was pretty good. He loved to design advertising, and he would put full-page ads in magazines as disparate as National Lampoon and Psychology Today. Full-page ads to the Necronomicon. And what a bizarre approach, but it worked. It got a lot of coverage from a lot of places, and naturally the book was attacked immediately as soon as it came out. This is not the Necronomicon. This is a horrible pastiche. It's a horrible hoax. It's so poor. It's so pathetic. It isn't really even Lovecraft, and all of that went on. As far as I was concerned, the fact that it wasn't really Lovecraft meant that it probably was, the real Necronomicon.
Right, yeah.
If it was a hoax, it would have been a lot better than what it was.
Because when Lovecraft was around, nobody really knew much about Sumeria, did they?
I mean, Sumeria was discovered. I mean, they knew about it, I think, in World War I period. I mean, before he died, information had come out about Sumeria, but it wasn't a lot. The tablets hadn't been translated until years after, I think, after he died. So the major Sumerian works hadn't come out yet, in print. The Enuma Elish and all of the other creation epics and stuff. I don't think that came out while he was alive. I'm not sure now that you asked, but I don't think the stuff was out yet. So it's unusual that, his references to it matched, with some of the Sumerian stuff that came out later.
But he wouldn't have been able to imagine that the Necronomicon was, a partially Sumerian text or based on a Sumerian text, because
No, I doubt that very much. I don't think he could have gone there, really.
Right. Okay, we'll be back with more from Peter Levenda about the Necronomicon after these messages from our sponsors. Hi, this is Tracy R. Twyman. From 1996 to 2003, my magazine, Dagobert's Revenge, was a beacon to those seeking the light of the Holy Grail. Long before the hype of the Da Vinci Code, Dagobert's Revenge was the world's only magazine devoted to the subjects of the Priory of Zion, the Merovingians, the Grail Bloodline, Mary Magdalene, the Knights Templar, the Rennes-le-Chateau Enigma, secret societies, esoteric history, and occult symbolism. Way ahead of its time, the well-researched, in-depth articles found in Dagobert's Revenge even traced the mysteries back to their origins in ancient Sumer, Egypt, Babylon, and Atlantis. They delved deep into the hidden wisdom of the Bible, Freemasonry, and the myths of our ancestors. They even brought in the topic of fallen angels and the superhuman race of beings known as the Nephilim. Dagobert's Revenge was a totally unique publication. Nothing like it has been seen before or since. When it ceased publication in 2003, thousands of loyal readers were left hungry for more. Back issues quickly became high-priced collector's items. So for those who love Dagobert's Revenge, or for those who never had a chance to read it, one book is essential for your library. It's The Arcadian Mystique, The Best of Dagobert's Revenge, published by Dragon Key Press. It even includes bonus articles that were never featured in the print publication. Pick up your copy today at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or TracyRTwyman.com. And visit TracyRTwyman.com to learn how you can bid on rare back issues of Dagobert's Revenge as they come up for auction. All right, we're back at the PlusUltra podcast. This is Tracy R. Twyman, and now here's more from Peter Levenda. So back to your story. Okay, so there was a major meaningful coincidence that happened there where Herman Slater has this Necronomicon, what he believes to be the Necronomicon, but he can't find a publisher for it. And,
right.
So all of a sudden, this guy who happens to be really into the occult and into Lovecraft, he just almost on a whim walks into the store and asks if you ever heard of the Necronomicon or if you have the Necronomicon, not really expecting you to say yes. And then
exactly.
Herman Slater says, yeah, I have it right here. And then it turns out that this guy is a publisher.
Right. Imagine the rush, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you go into a store and say, offhandedly, do you have the Necronomicon? And someone says, yeah. So it was quite a rush for him. I mean, it changed his life. It was a major influence, on him. I mean, he was focused on it 100% after that. Broken only briefly by the death of Elvis Presley, whom he idolized as well, and he made an Elvis Presley calendar or something. But in the midst of the Necronomicon, he was really totally focused on it, on creating the most beautiful possible edition he could. And quite frankly, I think that that first edition, that first Leather edition, was a little tacky. It was just too much silver and too many gargoyle-ish looking emblems, too much eldritch stuff on there. But anyway, he liked it, and it was very successful. The first edition sold out before it was even printed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sold out strictly word of mouth. So it paid for itself. And then the other two editions after that, and finally Avon picked it up. And I think with Avon it sold, close to 1 million copies since it came out in 1980, I think.
1 million?
So,
huh?
That's not really a bestseller in terms of the New York Times, but it's, it's steady.
Simon and also William S. Burroughs, who wrote a letter after he read the Necronomicon, wrote a letter to you guys. They both seem to think that the publication of the Necronomicon was a historically significant event, that this is going to have a major ripple effect, or that it has already had a major ripple effect on public consciousness, pop culture, history. I mean, do you agree with that? Do you think that it was an important event?
Well, yeah, I think it was important in several different ways. In the first place, where the New Age is concerned, a lot of the occultism is Judeo-Christian, let's say. The Keys of Solomon, the books of the 6th, 7th, and 8th books of Moses and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it was all based upon a Jewish and Christian concept. But with the coming of the New Age, you had a lot of neo-paganism. And there was not a system of ceremonial magic designed for a neo-pagan mentality. It was all based upon, Jewish and Christian concepts, which were themselves borrowed from pagan, origins.
Mm-hmm.
But the pagan origins were gone. I mean, for the most part, there were no texts about that. So I think, in a sense, the Necronomicon kind of filled a need for people with neo-pagan sensibilities to become involved in the higher magic, shall we say. That's one thing. That's very specific, I suppose.